Thanks for joining us today for episode 2 in the People Mastery Teams at 10 webinar series for more tips on how to take your suddenly virtual team from surviving to thriving. A warm welcome back to those of you who joined us last episode. And for those of you I haven't yet met, I'm Anna Marshall and I'm the founder of People Mastery. You'll also meet 2 members of my team, Jennifer Layler, who is a leadership development specialist and has a particular interest and expertise in mental health.
Hello, everyone. Good morning.
And the lovely Kirsty Boutel, who's my resident digital content expert and question handler extraordinaire. Say hi, Kirst.
Morning, everyone.
Awesome. And the format of our session today is to share with you 1 useful concept and 2 applications. And Jennifer is going to take you through how this concept relates to how you're being as a leader. And I'll take you through what you might consider doing with your team. So let's get started. Today, we're going to, really think about these multiple roles that we're all fulfilling at the moment. And for me, I've been an office removalist, a teacher, a counsellor, a quarantine personal shopper, a business owner, and I've just come downstairs back from being a food tech supervisor, okay? So we're all pulled in different directions and we've got this constantly changing environment, which is pretty hard to navigate. And if you're feeling anything like me, your focus has been shot to pieces, okay? So we thought what was really important for today is to think about, as a leader, how we can maintain and regain our focus when it's slipping for us right now, and also how you can support your team to regain their focus through these really disruptive times, okay? So I'm going to hand over to Jennifer, and she is going to take you through, maintaining focus and regaining your focus as a leader. Over to you, Jen.
Thanks, Anna. Those of you who were on the call with us last week might remember that we did a centering practice. And we say we're centered when we're present, open, connected to ourselves and others and our environment. This is a key leadership capability. So we're going to start out today with bringing you back to center. I know I really need that this morning. And then I'm going to walk you through a 4-part process that is helpful for navigating the stress of these multiple roles we're all trying to fulfill. So let's get started together on that. And I invite you just to take a deep breath. And as you slowly let it out, sit back in your chair and feel the support of the chair. And as you exhale, bring your attention down into your feet where they connect with the floor. Just feel that for a moment. And then take another deep breath. And as you do, feel yourself getting centered and present and focused with everyone else here on this call today, all getting present and focused together. Now, why do we do this? Because being present is actually a primary prerequisite to being focused and productive. So really key. And like Anna said, we're all juggling these multiple roles at once. And the big question we're all asking is, how do we do it? And our short answer is, you can't. So, there's some good news and bad news here. It's just not humanly possible to do it all at once. And we're all doing the best we can with an uncertain, fluid situation here. And if you're anything like me, it's highly likely that you're feeling thrown off center multiple times a day. So one antidote that we spoke about in our team about being able to, especially when you're feeling emotionally or practically overwhelmed, being able to work with that is to take the route of self-compassion. And self-compassion is basically kindness toward oneself. And self-compassion is a practice that helps us calm our nervous system so that we can recenter and regain focus. And it's really a way, I think it's so important, self-care for leaders is really important right now. So this is a way to be able to look after your own health and well-being so that you're better able to serve and lead others. So let's walk through 4 simple steps that can foster self-compassion. First of all, simply acknowledge what's happening. Really important. Trying to push it away or wrestle with it is really just going to make the struggle worse. So meet yourself where you are with self-awareness and honesty by naming what's happening. For example, for me right now, it's I'm really struggling with all these competing commitments, and I'm afraid I'm going to let others down. So step 2, remember you're not alone. That's really important. Many others are going through similar struggles. And remembering this helps to normalize what's happening. Just stop and take a deep breath. And step 3, decide to choose kindness for yourself. If you were talking or supporting a friend or a loved one going through a similar thing, how would you speak to them? What would you say? What would you do? And do that for yourself. Speak to yourself, act toward yourself that way. And then finally, now that maybe after those 3 steps, you're feeling a little more present and centered, is there any request you need to make, like a request for help, or do you need to renegotiate a timeline or take some other action? This part of the process is the, respecting your limitations and needs whilst also taking action so that ultimately you can still be accountable. And I know it seems counterintuitive to think of taking 5 minutes to slow down and offer yourself kindness will help, but actually in the long run it can make you more effective and productive. And leaders, modeling this for your teams is gold. It really is. It helps create the conditions for psychological safety and trust that lead to high-performing teams. So, recap, 3 C's to remember. The first is centering to develop leadership presence and focus. The second is compassion for yourself and others. And the third is communicate, and do so often. Connection is so key right now. And that's it for me, Anna. Back over to you for some
Thanks, Jennifer.
On leading
teams. I'm feeling calmer already, so thank you for that. I
Yay.
hope everyone else is too. So let's kind of change gears into teams. So as Jennifer said, communicating with your teams is key. And what we know, in these really challenging times is that what successful teams do is they focus on what matters most. And that can be really challenging when everything has changed for you. There may be some teams out there where things are staying the same, but generally we're finding people are finding a lot of disruption. So 3 key things to focus on to support your team around focus. The first one is, and it might sound pretty obvious, what is your team's #1 priority? And notice that I say priority, not priorities, okay? So the priority is the thing that matters most. There can only be one thing that matters most. And as Brené Brown says, clear is kind, unclear is unkind. So if you think people are clear, you're probably not clear, and they definitely aren't, okay? So please don't make assumptions with your team about priorities. Ask them. In your next team session, whether it's a virtual huddle or however you're doing that, just ask them, if we could only focus on one thing right now to be most successful and help our business, what must it be? Get them individually to write it down. Just do a sanity check. And guess what? If the answers are a little bit different, that's okay. You need to do a bit of guidance and reshaping. Okay, so that's #1. What's our team's #1 priority? Step 2, how does each team member contribute to that? Okay, so even on my team, we all contribute in slightly different ways. So having a what and a why, what I'm doing and why it's important, creates meaningful work for people. That's vital. It's how people maintain their sense of connection. The other thing around your individual team members' #1 thing is, when are they going to do that by? Your job at the moment in these really disruptive times is to expand the time horizon. People really want to deliver, and the risk is that they try and take on too much, okay? Because they're trying to be the teacher, and they're trying to be the food tech supervisor, and they're trying to be the worker, and they're trying to do all of this at once. Your job is to make sure that the time for delivery is realistic. And you can only do this if you know what they've got going on at home, okay? So key to this is understand what is happening for each of your people holistically, okay? Third thing, to maintaining your focus and reducing distractions is, what do we need to say no to? What might we need to stop doing? What might we need to say, look, I'd love to help you, but I can't do that yet, okay? So if you can ask that question of for your team, what can we stop doing right now? again, that sort of reduces some of the distractions and enables them to focus on that number one thing. Okay, so I think we're kind of into question time. Over to Kirsty. She's going to be my Tony Jones. What have we got, Kirsty?
Thanks, Anna. We have a great question from Sharon Hansen. What is your advice for someone in the team who worries about many small issues, making the issues seem large to them and the team because there are so many? How do you help them understand the number one priority?
Jen, I'm going to get some help here. What do you reckon?
I think recognizing that people are feeling a lot of anxiety and overwhelm right now, like we talked about. So bringing some compassion to the situation and maybe helping them sit down and think through, what's within their control, what's not within their control, what's within the team's control, what's not within the team's control. And then talking through what the priority really is, like if we had to choose one right now.
Yeah.
But just acknowledging and recognizing these are really bizarre times, and that we can't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
How about you, Anna?
Yeah, I build on what Jennifer's saying. What's within your control, circle of influence. What are the things that I can actually make a decision on and move on, and maybe what can the team make a decision and move on, and what things are just outside of our control. We'd love to control what's happening with the virus, but we can only control ourselves. We can control our own hand washing and all that kind of stuff. So really taking it back to what's within your control, I think, and you can ask some really good coaching questions around that, and maybe just go in with that. What do you believe is your number one priority, and bounce that around with the team, get some support, and maybe again harness back to that. What can they stop doing? What are those things outside of the control that they can actually let go of for now? Yep. Kirsty, have we got another one?
We do. We have a question from Emma. When you have team members who have a lot going on for them personally, it can be hard for them to buy into your mission. How can you ensure you're supportive while making sure that it doesn't distract others from the main objective or derail the project?
Oh, that's a good question. I think with that one, again, it's, if they've got a lot going on in their personal lives, they're being pulled in lots of different directions. As Jennifer said, we need to go with that self-compassion. Maybe ask the question, what do you think you can do right now? Okay, how can you contribute? And most often the team member will give you more than you would suggest. Okay, so if you were going to choose one thing, they'll probably give you a little bit more than you expected. So what's one thing they can do? And if the other thing I'd say is, if they make a suggestion and you make a commitment and they don't deliver, and that happens over and over again, then you need to have a conversation about how, what's going on there, why do we keep failing to deliver on this commitment? What's the bigger problem? Okay.
And I might just add to that you might, as a leader, although I know this is really hard on you, you might need to just make a few more one-on-ones with that person, and check in on what resources they have around them, if they have a lot going on for them personally, and is there maybe counseling accessible through your organization to help that person.
Great tips, Jennifer. Awesome. I think we're kind of right on the wire, Kirsty. Okay, so thanks, Emma, for the feedback. Look, we hope that's been a really useful session for you. There is so much that we could talk about, so we're trying to keep it really short and snappy. Please do drop us a line and let us know what you thought was most useful. Anna@peoplemastery.com. We'll be posting you the video shortly so you can watch it and you can share it with your teams. And please do encourage anybody that you think would get benefit from the session to join with us next week. Thanks again. Be kind to yourselves and your teams. Wishing you a really productive week ahead. See you next Tuesday at 10. Thanks for dialing in. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye.